The twin suns of Elisara Prime dipped below the horizon, casting long violet shadows across the bone-white grasses of the Nerith plains. A hot wind carried the metallic tang of ionized air, remnants of last night's auroral storms. In the distance, the fractured peaks of the Garnock Ridge stood like shattered spires, but all eyes were trained on the savannah before them. Captain Arlo Vance crouched at the head of the Orion Brigade's strike team, his pulse hammering against the inside of his helmet. Before him, the massive form of a Graviscar lay splayed on the ground, its bioluminescent ribs dimmed, each breath a rasping struggle. A wound gaped along its flank, crystalline bone shards jutting outward like the teeth of a broken crown. Vance's men fanned out, rifles trained, sensors flickering red with adrenaline. "Hold position," he whispered into his comlink. "I want that beast alive, but only if we can make it back in one piece." Behind Vance, Lieutenant Mara Chen checked her charge levels. "Captain, the bioluminescence is fading. Whatever did this hit hard." Her voice was steady, but the tremor in her hands betrayed her fear. The Graviscar was a legend for a reason, apex predator, nearly invulnerable, and rumored to possess speed and intelligence unmatched on any known world. A sudden shift in the air drew their attention. A lone figure emerged from the tall grasses. A man in worn flight leathers, mud-streaked and unarmed. In his hands he carried a small metallic canister. The hunters tensed, ready to open fire at the slightest provocation. "Who the—" barked Sergeant Rhodes, narrowing his scope. But before he could pull the trigger, the stranger knelt beside the Graviscar, speaking in a low, melodic tone that none on the team had ever heard. His words flowed like liquid silver through the calm silence. Vance raised a hand. "Don't engage," he hissed. "Let me see what he's doing." The man twisted the cap off the canister, revealing a viscous, pearlescent gel. He pressed his palm against the Graviscar's shattered ribs, and the gel oozed into the wound with a faint hiss. Then with deliberate care he whispered soothingly, leaning so close that Vance could see the flecks of green in his eyes. "What in the colonies?" murmured Chen, lowering her weapon by a fraction. Moments passed in tense stillness. The Graviscar's growls, deep reverberating thunder, softened into pitiful gasps. Its great head tilted and amber eyes flickered toward the man. The hunters watched, hearts hammering as they witnessed the impossible. A being they were trained to kill, calming beneath the touch of a stranger. Then the man produced small strips of what looked like compressed algae paste, nutrient blocks, wrapped in translucent film, and offered one to the Graviscar. With agonizing slowness, the beast opened its maw, revealing rows of serrated crystalline teeth. It sniffed the offering, then, almost reverently, nuzzled the man's hand as it ate. Sergeant Rhodes swallowed. "Captain, is he feeding it?" Vance exhaled. For a moment he felt the full weight of command, the unspoken code that no creature, no matter how majestic, should survive to return to the wild if it posed this kind of threat. But as he watched the Graviscar's breathing even out, its flanks rising and falling with a steady, healing rhythm, another thought lodged itself in his mind. If this man could heal a creature of myth, what power did he possess? "Stand down," Vance ordered. "Nobody fires. Give me your eyes and your ears. We're not ghosts out here. If he wants to talk, we listen first." The hunters eased their rifles to the ground and gathered in a loose semicircle. The stranger paused, looking up at his audience for the first time. He offered a slight nod of acknowledgement, then scooped another glob of healing gel from the canister and applied it to the Graviscar's jagged wound. "Name's Jarek," he said, voice calm and steady. "I don't mean harm. He was hurt by poachers. He's not my quarry." A low chuckle rippled through the ranks. "Poachers? On Elisara? We thought this sector was secure," Chen said, her tone a mix of skepticism and awe. Jarek glanced up, eyes shadowed with pain. "Illicit syndicates have ways. They take what they please." He patted the Graviscar's shoulder-like ridge. "I'm just making sure he survives." Vance exchanged looks with his lieutenants. The mission had changed. What began as a hunt for glory had become something else entirely, an impossible choice between duty and wonder. Around them, the Nerith wind sighed, as though even the savannah held its breath, waiting to see which side the Orion Brigade would choose. The following dawn revealed a landscape transformed by last night's struggle. Where once the grasses lay trampled and dusty, dew now glistened like scattered gems, reflecting pale violet light from Elisara's broken sky. The Orion Brigades, camp buzzed with cautious movement. Rations were redistributed, weapon calibers checked, and scanners swept the horizon for any sign of the illicit poacher drones. Yet all attention remained fixed on the man they'd saved, and the creature. At his side, Jarek led the way, Saren's massive silhouette moving with a surprising grace. The Graviscar's wounded flank was wrapped in broad strips of reinforced biotextile, each layered over glassy shards of bone. Its gait was laborious, but measured. Every step was a testament to the bond forming between man and beast. Behind them, Vance ordered a small escort of medics and engineers to follow at a respectful distance. "Keep your scanners off the beast," Jarek instructed softly, glancing back at the trailing team. "He needs space and trust." Lieutenant Chen hesitated, then deactivated her suit's bioprobe. Around her, the others mirrored the gesture. For the first time in their careers, they found themselves deferring not to a superior officer, but to a stranger's instinct. Their destination lay deep within the Garnock Ridge, in a cavern tinted by phosphorescent lichen and heated by subterranean vents. Here, crystalline springs bubbled from the rock, their waters charged with natural electrolytes that accelerated healing and soothed pain. Jarek had discovered the grotto years ago, long before he ever laid eyes on a Graviscar. He guided Saren down narrow passages with practiced confidence, twisting through stone alcoves, pausing only to place glowing markers where the way was uncertain. As they entered the main chamber, the creature paused at the edge of the largest pool. Steam curled around Saren's muzzle, and it inhaled deeply, flicking its ears at the hiss of escaping gas. Jarek unstrapped a pair of hydropacks from his belt and began to lower them into the water. "Stay back," he called. "Let me do this first." The medics hovered at the mouth of the grotto, impatience and awe warring in their expressions. Sergeant Rhodes tapped his rifle butt against the stone floor, as if the sound might hurry the process. But Chen raised a hand. "Give them time," she murmured. "He's a healer now, not a hunter." Minutes later, Jarek motioned them forward. Together, they gently lifted Saren's great bulk and lowered it into the glowing pool. The water lapped around its armored ribs, steam rising in ghostly plumes. Mechanical arms and inhalers deployed, soaking Jarek's field dressings and dispersing restorative nanites. The Graviscar's eyes half-lidded, a low rumble of contentment vibrating through the chamber. While the creature relaxed, Jarek turned to the Orion team. "You called me Hermit," he said, voice low. "Maybe that fits. I came here to escape, but I stayed because I found something worth protecting." Engineer Vargas cleared his throat. "We heard the Syndicate's illicit biotraders were here weeks ago, took eggs, killed mothers. You—" He glanced at Saren. "You saved the hatchling." Jarek nodded, shadows passing across his face. "He was the last of his clutch. I couldn't let him die." Silence fell. The engineers exchanged uneasy glances. Could compassion be more binding than contract, stronger than fear? Captain Vance stepped forward, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. "Your actions risked our mission," he said, voice even. "But I can't deny their outcome. You've given us a chance to make things right." Around them, phosphorus green, lichen pulsed in time with the Graviscar's gentle breathing. In that luminescent glow, man and beast lay side by side, one finding sanctuary in stone and steam, the other offering a glimpse of something more than conquest. The Orion Brigade had come to hunt an apex predator, but here, in the hidden heart of the Garnock Ridge, they learned that even the fiercest of monsters could become a companion, and perhaps a guardian of this world they all called home. The next night, a gale-force wind swept across the Nerith plains, battering the Orion Brigade's forward encampment with swirling dust and stinging grit. But inside the reinforced biodomes, a different storm was brewing. Scanners had picked Up movement. Fast, mechanical, and unmarked. Syndicate scavenger drones returning to finish what they'd started. Jarek stood beside Saren, whose wounds had mostly closed, leaving only faint, glowing lines of biotextile along its ribs. The eyes, Graviscar's plasma spines pulsed in anticipation, casting long, sinuous shadows against the dome's translucent walls. Around them, the brigade's hunters took position, weapons calibrated for EMP rounds. Captain Vance gave a curt nod. "Hold until they're in range," he ordered. "We want them down in one strike." But before the drones could form their attack grid, Saren shifted. With a roar that rattled the dome's supports, it charged. Not at the intruders, but through the plating itself. A brutal, resonant screech rent the night as crystalline claws sheared through reinforced polymer. In the aftermath, shards of shell drifted like ghostly petals around the fallen machines. Jarek sprinted after his companion, weaving through twisted fragments of metal and sparks. He carried a compact ion harpoon, launching it with unerring precision at an approaching drone. The harpoon struck true, arcing a filament that shorted the drone's circuits into smoking ruin. Together, man and beast moved as one. Saren's thunderous gait scattering drones like flanked prey, Jarek's calm focus picking off threats before they could regroup. Lieutenant Chen watched in awe from a secure vantage point. "It's like they're synced," she whispered into her comm. "He reads its movements, anticipates every strike." Sergeant Rhodes, jaw clenched, fumbled with his comm. "Admit it," he muttered. "That thing saved us more tonight than a dozen phalanx turrets." Within minutes, the last drone lay inert. Silence reclaimed the darkness, broken only by Saren's heavy breaths and Jarek's quiet patter as he knelt to inspect a fresh nick on the creature's flank. "Easy, big guy," he murmured, pressing a soothing gel patch into the wound. "You did good." Captain Vance emerged from the shadows, offering his hand. "I underestimated you," he admitted, "and I thought I knew what loyalty looked like." Jarek glanced up, eyes reflecting the faint glow of Saren's spines. "It's not about blood," he replied. "It's about trust. And tonight you trusted us enough to stand beside you." Under the flickering starlight, stained pink by distant nebulae, the Orion Brigade and their unlikely pair of champions shared a moment of hard-earned respect. In the crucible of violence, a bond had been forged, tempered by danger and revelation. They were no longer hunter and prey. They were comrades in arms, united by the promise that even the fiercest heart could learn to protect what it once might have destroyed. Night settled over Elisera Prime like a velvet cloak, pierced by the argent glow of its twin moons, Kira and Stellan. The Orion Brigade's camp lay silent, save for the soft hum of energy shields and the distant cries of nocturnal predators. Inside the command dome, a council of officers and scientific advisors gathered around a holo projector, its pale light reflecting in their eyes. At the center stood Jarek, shoulders squared, as he prepared to unveil the story behind the man, who had befriended an apex predator. Captain Vance cleared his throat. "Jarek, you owe us the truth. How did you come to find and save Saren? And what are you hiding?" The camp's field scientists leaned forward, eager for insights into the Graviscar's rapid recovery. Jarek inhaled slowly, then let his shoulders relax. "I was once a researcher on Horizon Station," he began, voice carrying the weight of memory. "A geneticist specializing in cross-species regenerative therapies. I believed humanity could transcend its limits by embracing alien biologies. When my colleagues discovered I'd spliced human stem cells with Graviscarn DNA," he paused as ripples of shock spread through the room. "They labeled it abomination, ordered me to cease immediately." Dr. Morel Kavanaugh, the brigade's lead xenobiologist, frowned. "You violated every ethical code in the outer colonies. That kind of research is banned." Jarek nodded. "I know. My work promised cures for organ failure, regrowth of damaged tissues. But they feared what they couldn't control." He tapped a finger on a glass data pad, summoning a projection of a Graviscar egg nestled in a bioincubator. "On Elisera, I discovered these eggs among the ruins of a poacher outpost. A mother Graviscar had fallen protecting her clutch. I saved the hatchling, Saren. Raised him in secret, teaching him my voice, my heartbeat, until his instincts turned to loyalty. Silence hung heavy. Lieutenant Chen exchanged glances with Sergeant Rhodes, who finally broke the hush. So, you're saying he sees you as pack leader? Or family? Jarek offered a small, rueful smile. Both. His lineage grants him raw power. My touch tempered, guided it. We survived together. Dr. Kavanaugh's eyes softened as she studied Saren, now curled just beyond the dome's reinforced glass. And your serum? She asked. The gel you use, is it derived from your research? Jarek nodded again. A modified extracellular matrix infused with regenerative nanites. It accelerates healing. But it's unstable, untested on humans. I never meant for war. His voice trailed off as the Graviscar lifted, its massive head, nostrils flaring in curiosity. Captain Vance stepped closer, lowering his voice. What do you want, Jarek? Redemption? A pardon? The geneticist met his gaze steadily. I want a chance to prove that compassion can be stronger than conquest. That science, guided by empathy, can save lives rather than destroy them. Saren isn't just a specimen. He's evidence. Outside, the twin moons drifted across the sky, their light dancing on the Graviscar's scales. In that moment, every warrior and scientist in the camp understood the unspoken truth. The greatest frontier was not the wild plains of Elisara Prime, but the uncharted terrain of the human heart. From here on, their mission would be rewritten, not in terms of trophies taken, but lives saved and a bond forged beneath alien moons. The first rays of Elisara Prime's morning sun broke over the Garnock Ridge, bathing the plains in molten gold. In the clearing before the command dome, the Orion Brigade assembled alongside Dr. Kavanaugh's scientific team. Saren's great silhouette loomed beside Jarek, its bioluminescent ridges pulsing gently, as if echoing the hopeful heartbeat of the dawn. Around them, the air hummed with anticipation. Today, their mission would take on a new purpose. Captain Vance stepped forward, his once skeptical gaze now warm with conviction. We came here to hunt legends, he began, voice carrying across the assembled ranks. But what we've found is far more extraordinary than any trophy. We've witnessed a bond forged in compassion, guided by science and tempered by trust. He gestured to Jarek. On behalf of the Orion Brigade, I formally petition the Alliance of Colonies to grant you full pardon, and to endorse your work wherever it can save lives. A ripple of applause rose, mingled with the low rumble of Saren's contented purr. Jarek's lips curved into a humble smile as he addressed the crowd. Thank you. This isn't just about me or Saren. It's about every world where fear has stifled discovery, where prejudice has halted progress. With the Alliance's support, we can refine the serum, share our findings, and ensure that no creature, human or alien, suffers needlessly again. He reached out, placing a hand on Saren's flank. Together, we'll heal more than wounds. We'll heal the divide between humanity and the wild. As cheers echoed across the plains, Saren tilted its massive head skyward, unleashing a thunderous roar that rolled like distant thunder. Below, the hunters and scientists raised their weapons not in aggression, but in salute. Scopes lifted, comm systems triggered, beacons of light ascending toward the sky. In that moment, Elisara Prime itself seemed to awaken, its twin moons, fading before the promise of a new sun. And so, hand in claw, man and beast took their first steps into an uncharted future, one defined not by conquest, but by compassion, discovery, and the unbreakable bonds that bind every living soul in the galaxy.